Welcome to another Off the Record Real Talk for Regulated Leaders. Hey, Michelle, thank you for reminding me to record because we always
Yeah.
do this. We get into really great conversations, and then it's like someone says something really great, and it's like, "Oh, we should be recording this." It's the whole reason we started doing these, right?
And sometimes we forget to click record, but that's
Yes.
okay.
Well, I mean, how about I reel it back a little bit
Mhm.
and just address a little bit of what we were talking about. So, I had a client and the client ghosted me, and it was the opportunity to how do you respond to getting ghosted? And in that, we got around to an aha moment my client was having where I asked them, what would you feel on the opposite side of getting ghosted? So, what would you feel if I ghosted you for 5 weeks? And what are the stories you would start to tell yourself? Because it's natural as a human, our go to is for our insecurities eventually to come up and fill in the gap and to say, hey, oh, what did I say? What did I do? Are they mad at me? Is it my fault? Is a go to. So communicating anything at all, even just saying, hey, I'm drowning right now. I'm overwhelmed. I'll get to this when I can. Like any of that, it alleviates the other person. And the aha moment that they were having in that moment was like, oh, wow, I never really put myself in the other person's shoes.
Mhm.
And especially when we're talking about ghosting clients or ghosting coaches in that realm, to put yourself in that person's shoes, like that's how we do good business is by remaining in good spaces like that. So you hadn't given me any feedback because you were like, Jayna, have you hit record? So
Because it was awesome. It was great. I was like, I think this is relevant to so many people. Ghosting is something that is really easy to do because we have these. We have these,
Mhm.
and it's really easy to get in touch with someone. So it's really easy to notice when somebody isn't responding to you or following their normal patterns. And I would say for sure, I think the number one thing most of us do is that person okay?
Right.
Followed by, did I piss them off? Did I
Yep.
do something? And I know that's something I've been working on as well, to not take things personally, to
Yes.
always imagine the best possible outcome, give the person the benefit of the doubt. But 5 weeks is a really long time to not start wondering or worrying about someone. And I think it is a gift from the person ghosting to what you just said. Hey, let me take the onus off of you. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me. But the second thing is, I think there's also a gift in the person who is trying to reach out, because that also takes courage.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of courage. And I know that's something that I haven't had the courage to do in the past, to continue following up, even when somebody hasn't responded. And what you were telling me that really stood out to me was that your client mentioned that they were in a shame spiral, and they
Yeah.
kept saying, tomorrow I will reach out. Tomorrow I will reach out. But tomorrow, the shame was still there. And also, when you say tomorrow, tomorrow is always in the future. So it
Yep.
never becomes present day, which you and I both know. And it is very easy when you tell your subconscious mind or your conscious mind that you'll do something tomorrow, to continue putting it out. And the shame just kept aggregating and aggregating and aggregating. And it does take courage for somebody who might think it's their thing, that it's personal to them, to continue to reach out and say, hey, I'm humbly putting myself out here until I get a response, because I at least want to know that you're okay.
Yeah.
So that really stood out to me. You helped your client break that pattern by continuing to show up despite the fact that you thought it might have been something to do with you.
Yeah.
And I respect that a lot.
Thank you. And I think I also allowed a bit of a pattern break because I didn't come back with any energy. I stayed neutral.
Mhm.
My initial go-to was it me?
Yep.
Like it was what I think I even said to you one day, I was like, "It was it my coaching? Did I do something? Did I
Mhm.
push him past a certain limit? Did I, we do deep work in my sessions and sometimes people they spiral and they don't tell me.
Mhm.
And so I thought it was me, and then I would immediately nip that in the butt and was like, "No, no, no, I know what I'm doing. I do great work. I've never failed someone like that. Like, no, it can't be that." And then immediately my next thought was, "Well, they're in a different country." I almost went to Google
Mhm.
and was like, "What's happening in this country right now?" And it's like I thought, "Okay, worldly, could there be something
Yeah.
happening where they're not safe physically?" And then that's where I really was continuing to follow up, like you said, having that courage because I
Mhm.
was worried for their physical safety. I
Mhm.
was like, "This is not normal for you to not say anything. I don't care if you don't give me the full
Mhm.
email and answer all bullet points on there. Just say you're alive and you're okay."
Mhm.
But to not hear you across multiple platforms, that was where it started to get a little unnerving. And it was like, it's more than just, is this me or are you safe? Like, there's something deeper happening here. And I also am aware of the work that I do and how we attract who we are, whether it's in the form of the audience members who watch our videos to the people who work with us. And when we say we attract who we are, we attract our own problems. This
Mhm.
is something I do. This is something I've had in my past. This is something that I've had to address in my own world. And I think the reason I was able to be so neutral with this client is because I've worked to get myself to this point, and one of the things that really helped was telling myself, "Look, okay, Jayna, you surround yourself with adults, and adults know how to communicate when they're upset." So, I live in a belief system that I live in a world where adults know how to communicate when they're upset. So, I live in a reality that everybody is completely happy with me until you tell me otherwise. I am
Mhm.
not going to assume anything because then I leave room for you just got a really hard text from a boss and you turn around, you snap at me, and I assume it's because of me, right?
Mhm.
Versus living in a world that's like, look, if Michelle was yelling at me and it was actually about me, she would tell me, Jayna, look,
Mhm.
I'm mad at you for this because I respect that I only allow adults in my world. And Michelle's an adult. And so she can do that. So I think getting myself to that point and realizing that even if I happen to attract someone in my world who's not what I am labeling as an adult, aka the ability to say when you're upset, it will filter its way through my reality. Like, because my reality is that people will tell me when they're upset. Now, is it
Mhm.
hard to hear that? Yes. Is it hard? But it's a reality I'd rather have because then I'm not running around with the assumption that people are upset at me when there's a trillion different reasons why people can have the attitude, say the thing, do the behavior. It's not always about us. Like you said, work on not taking things personally.
Yeah.
That's been really
Huge.
huge. Yeah.
And I would say that for all of the personal growth and development junkies out there, you know how subtle that can be
Yeah.
because there's an element of, hey, everything outside of you is your projection. So it can't show up in your reality unless it's inside of you.
Mhm.
So then how do you not take things personally? Right? and 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 what I have come to discover within my own life, my own interpretation, how I now see the world is
Yes.
that we're walking contradictions. And our path and our purpose here is to learn how to be okay with that. But if you think about it, everything has its opposite. There's day, there's night. You can be a morning person, you can be a night person. You can be you have the male aspects, you have the feminine aspects, which are all opposites.
Yeah.
Mm, I mean, it's kind of trippy if you think about it at its most basic part. We're walking around as living, walking, talking contradictions. And we get to look outside of ourselves and accept those things. Because when we don't accept those things, that's when it can become a big problem. That's the whole concept of shadow work. So it's this very delicate balance of you're responsible for your own reality, you're not responsible for how other people feel. Oh, but wait, you also are the person who's communicated. So the onus is on you for how the other person responds. And it's like, wait, but you just said that wasn't, wait, hold on. What? It can get really confusing. And so the way that I've learned to internalize that is by really accepting and looking at, you know what, anytime I get confused by something because it doesn't make sense, because it's a contradiction, that just means it's something in me that maybe I need to integrate that a little bit deeper at a more profound level, so that it doesn't have to make sense to me. I don't have to identify with it. And yet I can be okay. It doesn't cause any dissonance inside. I can still decide that I'm going to be this way and not that way, but it's no longer confusing to me. It's just like, oh, well, that's their choice. That's just how it is. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because it is a very nebulous topic.
Well, yeah, I mean, it it's true because we're always swinging to the opposite side of the pendulum.
Mhm.
There's times in life where there's not enough control, and so we seek more structure, more systems so we can have more control over things.
Mhm.
And then we have too much control, so we need to be on the opposite side of the dichotomy. And I think where I've found that harmony and that balance that we're seeking is recognizing that there is beauty in both sides of the
Mhm.
pendulum. And that's what life is the swing back and forth. And without it, we're just sitting here doing nothing.
Mhm.
But for me, it's been a lot easier since the goal has always been all of these different things. My goal is now neutrality and curiosity
Mhm. Mhm.
always.
Mhm.
How can I stay neutral while being curious? Right? Because if I can be curious, then I'm open to both sides. I'm open to, well, I can see it this way. And how can I try and see it from that person's view? Because everyone's doing something based on a belief system.
Mhm.
And so it's really, for me, it's just that having that curious nature, that curious vibe, but remaining neutral in everything. Because if there's a reaction to something, that spike in a response to anything that's happening around me, I immediately know it's baggage. And so I'm like, what is there to learn here? Especially if I
Yeah.
see myself in someone else and it's not
Yeah.
fun to see. Then I'm like, oh, wonderful. I'm seeing myself. What is there to learn here right now? And it's
Yeah.
like,
There's a reason for
ugh,
this.
it's like very clearly in this state of like, oh gosh. And I've had that a lot recently.
Mhm.
You and I went to an event together where we met a ton of people all really fast. And in that, we get an opportunity to see a lot of versions of ourselves.
Mhm.
And so we get to see ourselves from our past, maybe, at the start of the journey, we get to see ourselves in the future, maybe five
Mhm.
steps ahead or 10,000 steps ahead. Who knows? You get to see yourself along this route. And I think it's always so interesting getting to interact with people and staying neutral when I know I used to go to events like this and I would look at certain people, my future self, and I would put them on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Oh, look how amazing they are. Or I'd put other people who are behind me like, oh, they don't know this thing yet. And I
Mhm.
was actually doing what I told myself I would never do. And it was judging people and just
Mhm.
putting them either up or down. And
Mhm.
I love walking in a land of neutrality because there are no pedestals. There is no up,
Mhm.
down, sideways, across, whatever. Neutrality. And so, like, to me, to meet anybody is just as invaluable as to meet the next person. And there's
Amen.
some people that just aren't my vibe or aren't my alignment or aren't the right addition to be associated to my brand. That's okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that you mentioned curiosity and neutrality. I haven't heard that, like, those 2 combined. I know that when you're curious, you can't have judgment, you can't have negative
Mm.
emotions when you are in a state of curiosity. But I never really thought about how neutrality comes into that. That's a state of consciousness as well. I remember this from, if I remember correctly, from the Scale of Consciousness, David R. Hawkins. And what it made me think of as well, just talking about that concept, is I've been doing a deeper dive into Carl Jung and his work on archetypes. It's just something that's come up. I studied him way back when in college, and he's got some really mystical teachings. I think it's wild. I was telling my husband Cliff about this. I was like, everyone knows who this is and studies him, but so few people know just how mystical he actually was, and all of the things that he talked about that are very woo, very spiritually minded, and the concept of archetypes and how astrology reflects those archetypes, how we can use our chart our, the placements of the planets, all they are these blueprints for us to understand what our projections are like. And when you know what that is for you, the thing that you do to help yourself balance out is bring in its opposite so that you can get balance. And so I find that fascinating. I'm doing that deep dive now. Like for example, if I've got a lot of fire, which I do, ton of fire. I'm a Leo, I was born in the year of the dragon, all of that. Then what I need to do and focus on is water, the feminine side, bringing in, so actually submerging myself in water, surrounding myself in water, but also doing practices that bring in more of that element, that just the opposite of what you would expect fire to be. Bring in the electromagnetism, as we've talked about before, not just the electricity.
Like for me, I'm a lot of air, and so that's why going out to the property and doing work outside and like grounding,
Grounding.
it's like so
Mhm.
yeah.
It's just so interesting, and for whatever reason, reading about it in that context clicked in a different way, and I was like, "Oh, I see." So, I am experiencing this imbalance in my life because I literally was born on that side of the spectrum. So, bringing in more of the other softer aspects will like it'll aid me in being more neutral because it keeps me more centered.
Yes.
So I just thought that was fascinating. Opposites are, again, can seem. I used to think I was a hypocrite about a lot of things.
Mm.
In fact, I would not speak up about certain things because I didn't want to seem hypocritical. And after doing a lot of consideration around what that word really means
Mhm.
and how we show up here as humans, that's when I was like, well, we're all freaking hypocrites. We literally all are just a bunch of opposites, and we're trying to figure out where we want to be. And again, it's a really fine line because if you do have a lot of one thing that you say that you want to be, or that you are, like me with my fire, you with your air, and we ignore the other one, it finds its way because the universe wants to have that balance. So either you're intentionally figuring out ways to bring it into your life on your terms, or it's going to show up and it can be ugly when that happens.
Yeah. I think that the idea of actually being intentional with what
Mhm.
energy you're bringing is a new concept to people.
Mhm.
Um, Understanding what part of the spectrum, right? Everything in life is a spectrum. We all land on it somewhere at some point. And so trying to figure out how to get yourself, say, from an air or a fire, air being more, a little bit more like full of ideas and like constantly jumping around from thing to thing, versus fire, like very direct and very like, this is what we're
Transformational.
doing.
Mhm.
Yes. How to get from there to more of that water or that grounded side. And I think a lot of people, because there isn't the awareness yet built in,
Mhm.
hopefully those watching are gaining that awareness. And
Yeah.
but because people don't have that awareness, they wait for it to naturally happen. They wait for
Mhm.
that friend to randomly invite them to the beach, and they go to the beach and they think, "Oh, it's because I had the day off from work." No, it's because you grounded and you went in the water, and it's because you
Mhm.
did the 2 things that help your nervous system the most, plus getting a
Mhm.
bunch of vitamin D in the sun, plus
Mhm.
being in communion with friends, plus you probably ate a few extra calories, which is really good for energy, plus, 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 plus. It's not just because you got off work, right? But
Mhm.
having this, "Oh, it just happened," versus, "Oh, I went and I grounded. I had this. I fed myself good nutrition." When you can consciously create routines and rituals around these things, that's when you can really master it. Because that brings me
Mhm.
back to this client from this morning. Speaking to them, and their problem they kept facing was that they have a very creative job and they're not always inspired. And he's
Mm.
like, "I don't know what to do when I sit down and I have to create, but I'm not inspired to create for this thing right now." And I was like, "Cool. Let's talk about other times in your life when you get inspired." Right. And so we went through and listed all these other ways to essentially get him into his feminine energy. whether that was walking, whether it was listening to a podcast, whether it was listening to music, whether it was doing some free writing and just getting himself flowing, whether it was learning something new about AI tech that would then spark his creative nature, right? We listed all of these different things and then we created new routines and rituals, including these items, so that he naturally would be inspired every single day versus
Mhm.
just waiting for the days where he was inspired and the days that he's not end up feeling like a failure because he wasn't able to make progress.
Mhm.
So it's this additional layer of like, if you're listening at a deeper level to what Michelle and I are talking about, we are giving you the keys to unlock unlimited energy. Because if you can recognize that resting is building your energy, and then acting on that rest is building your energy, and then sitting down and really creating this cycle and this rhythm in your life where you know what energy to use and build into your routine at that time, then the energy never stops. You're just utilizing a different aspect of that energy to keep the ball rolling.
I love that. I love how you talking about intentionality, because when we wait for someone else to create that catalyst for us, essentially what we're doing is we're giving away our authority.
Yes.
And we're coming out of that cycle of the rigid structure of that masculinity, like what you talked about with the fire energy. It's very direct, it's very rigid. There's rules, there's structure, there's hierarchy. And going into this more feminine era of, oh, let's just flow like the water and the river and the ocean and be creative and nurturing and follow our feelings. And naturally, everyone is waking up to that at some level in different degrees. And what I have found in my personal life and what I'm noticing around me is that people are reclaiming their authority, because there is information out there now to help us understand these concepts. And I know that's a theme that I have personally been working on. So if you are a person and you are noticing that things around you seem like they're falling apart, instead of catastrophizing or asking, why is this happening? Or, what bad luck? What if you had that open minded, curious, neutrality mindset and asked, what is it that's falling away right now that's actually allowing me to take more of my own authority back? Because if this structure over here is no longer in my life, how do I get to reclaim some intention and choice that I didn't even realize I'd been giving away? Because I think that's something I've noticed. I've had different things happen in my life recently where it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that I was giving that away. Because when we have our programming set, you know what? I always think of that movie. What was it called? Click, with Adam Sandler.
I don't know. Which one?
It's the one where he
Oh, the
goes to
remote
Bed
controller
and
one?
Beyond. Yeah, and he
Yes.
has the
Yes.
remote that like has always stayed with me, because when I started learning about all of these tools, I'm like, oh my god, it's like the movie. We train our unconscious mind to say, oh, I want to skip through that, or I just want to coast through that. We go completely like just unconscious, and we don't even realize what we're doing anymore.
Right.
And because it's so normal to us, we don't remember that that's a choice that I used to make that I'm now giving to someone else to make. Maybe we did it for convenience because that's what happened in the movie, right? He was doing it for convenience, but then it becomes this rule and you're like, "Oh no." Like, but I didn't want to fast forward through that part of my life. I did want to have more of a say in what was happening. And I think that's what we do. We help people pattern interrupt those areas in their life where they have accidentally given away their authority, their power, their conscious thought and decision making.
Yeah.
And we help them bring it back so that they can make different choices and create a different reality.
Yeah. I like to think of it as I get them through the goo.
Mhm.
What I mean is that when a butterfly goes into the chrysalis, it
Oh,
turns
yeah.
completely into goo.
Mhm.
Sorry, caterpillar. Starts the caterpillar
Yeah.
and then goes into the chrysalis, completely turns into goo. The wings are already in it. The brain, all the things are in it, and then it turns into a butterfly. Not only does it turn into this beautiful butterfly, but it still remembers being a caterpillar.
Mhm.
They've done studies on the caterpillars where they elicit a smell and then a zap and a smell and a zap, and they would start to respond to that smell. Then they would become butterflies and they would elicit the smell around the butterfly, and the butterflies would act erratic. And so they
Mhm.
clearly remember pre-transformation. So when I say that I help people get through the goo, is that people are usually in some sort of transformative process in their life. Either they're lost a loved one, or they're looking to lose weight, or they're looking to get out of a marriage and into a marriage, or whether they're looking to build a new career, or whatever the transition is in their life. They're looking to transform from who they were to who they're going to be. And so the hardest part of a transformation is not the deciding. That's the easiest part. It's the getting through all the gooey parts in the middle where it starts to all fall apart and you're like, "Oh no, my world is crumbling." It's like, "Yes, you
Mhm.
asked for this.
Mhm.
You said I want a different outcome," which
Mhm.
means we have to let go of our current reality. And that
Mhm.
can feel hard when you're just sitting in a pouch full of goo because you don't see the beauty of yourself until afterwards. So remind yourself when everything is falling apart around you, you're just in the goo. Just get through the goo. You got this, because then that's when the butterflies on the other side. And that's when you get to be someone who then turns around and helps someone else get through the goo, right?
Mm. I love that because now you can fly because you're a
Oh,
butterfly.
yeah.
Well, and I think too that one of the lesser known aspects of the goo, again, one of the subtler things. So I'm the person of subtleties, obviously. I do a lot of contemplation on those things that are like almost imperceptible. That's where my curiosity always leads me. And one of those is when you're in the goo, you often don't even recognize that you have your power back
Mm.
because you you don't even know what it's like to have it back. You have never exercised it. I like to use the analogy of a baby learning to walk, or maybe a toddler. Whenever we go through the process and we release all of these limitations that you have, you get that power back energetically. And for some things, it's so obvious, and you're just like, woo, I can do this. And for some other things, it's like a baby learning to walk. See, they have a belief that they know that they can walk, but they physically can't do it yet. They actually have to go through the motions of learning the new skill, installing it in their neurology, their muscle memory, what every single tendon and muscle and bone and the equilibrium, all of these things that we must master in order to be able to learn something as complex as walking. But this child knows that they can do it. And what happens is that they begin to try to walk, and everyone in the family is like, wow, this is awesome. This is great. This is beautiful. You're doing it. Like you're not there yet, but we're encouraging them. And what I find happens is when we become adults, we forget that there is that learning stage. And we think, well, I let that old belief go and I have this new belief, but I don't have that yet. I still feel scared, or I still feel this hesitation, or I still feel X, Y, or Z. And there's a very fine line between, no, that was my old belief. I didn't actually get rid of it. And no, 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 you're bringing this into reality. You need to do the reps. You're learning how to do this other thing. And, you know, using that analogy, what I find sometimes adults do is the equivalent of if the baby were to walk and then you're like, "Ugh, How do you not know how to do that yet? Like, I mean, you see everyone around you doing it. You know you can do it. Like, are you lazy? Are you dumb? Like, what's going on here? But we would never do that to a child
No.
because that's just silly and like it doesn't even make sense. But we do that to ourselves.
Right.
I see people doing that and they automatically go it goes back to the beginning of like, "Oh, automatically assume it's something to do with me, that something's wrong, that something's not working." And that's just not the case. I think that is getting people through the goo is the integration part of everything that we do. I can help you release your old programming. I can help you put in new programming, and you still need that community around you like you had when you were a baby learning to walk, to cheer you up, to cheer you on, to tell you, "Hey, it's okay that you felt that way. That's normal. You're
Yep.
learning this for the first time." But you have choice now. Before you didn't even have the choice or the ability, or you didn't even believe it was possible
Right.
for you. And this, I was working with someone recently who one of their greatest fears was sleeping alone. And after doing our release work, they were like, "Oh my gosh, I could do this now. I still don't really want to, but I could." And there was an observer, a family member there that was a little bit skeptical and was like, I don't understand how that's even a big deal. So I was in an attempt to help this person understand. I was like, what's something about you that you know so much that the opposite would be impossible for you? And so they shared that. And I'm like, imagine that after we do this work, you would know, wouldn't you, in your bones, you would know experientially if all of the sudden you could see yourself doing that, that it wasn't impossible for you anymore. And you could just see the shift on that person's face like, yeah, I would, because it's not possible to feel that way.
Right.
If you suddenly thought the opposite, you would know, you would feel it inside. It's like that's what just happened for this individual. It used to be impossible, now it's not. Whether or not they end up doing the thing or not, the shift is real. It's subtle. It's real. It's profound. It's there.
Yeah. So subtle and so profound that it's really hard to be a coach like this because you
Mhm.
often will have people get results and say that it had nothing to do with the work that you did. And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay. And it's
Sure.
like, it's so subtle. And they'll be like, no, I just woke up one day and I just started doing the thing. And I was like, I bet you did. And I bet that day was right after that coaching session.
Yeah, exactly,
And so
exactly.
it's really great work that we get to do. And I love that you brought in the aspect of having community because it really is so
Mhm,
necessary to be able
mhm,
to have that community support. It's also really necessary to have a mentor who walks before you, who's done it before you, who can tell
mhm,
you, versus someone who is telling you to do something they saw someone else say on the internet. And it's like,
mm,
you can go and watch YouTube videos on the internet, but I think the value is finding not even coaching anymore, it's more mentorship. It's like finding someone who has lived that path, who also has the learned abilities as well.
mhm,
But there's something to having lived that path. And for example, I often will tell my clients to journal. I incorporate journaling in a lot of the things that I do. There's so much research out there saying the power of journaling as far as rewiring your brain and getting yourself to see things from a new perspective and getting it
mhm,
to get out of literally your physical body. There's so much to journaling. And I will every client I have, I always ask them to journal. And a lot of people give me resistance. And it's simply like you were saying, it's that they're judging themselves like they would a teenager when they're really just a baby who's never walked before. They don't
mhm,
know what to do. Either they're telling me, hey, I stare at a blank page and I just don't know what to write. That's easy. We have ChatGPT. I can help you with prompts. Like I have so many different options there. Or it can be where people, they just overly judge themselves for what they're writing. They want it to sound and
mm,
be perfect.
mhm,
And so I gave this person recently, another client, I gave them a journal prompting. And I was like, look, I just want you to journal. I'm not going to actually tell you what to journal on or how to journal. Just journal. Just start writing um, anything. And I was like, here, for example, in my coaching, I like to lead. I don't like to just tell. And so I'll say, here's something I journaled on recently. And so I just
Mhm.
read through a journal entry from a couple days ago. And they were like, wow, that was so well written. And I was like, oh no, I just set the
Uh-oh.
bar so high for them. And I was like, oh no. And so I was like, they said to me, Jayna, we're in a digital age. I don't see the value in journals. What's it even for? Who's it for? What's it going to be good for? And I said, when I was a kid, I had this woman come in to this group I was in, and she pulled out boxes of journals that she had been keeping for like 40 or 50 years. Every single day, this woman journaled. And she said that the best thing she ever did for herself was journal because she got to go back and read her life. And if you're watching the YouTube video right now, I'm holding up only about 7 of the journals that I have that I've filled out over the last probably 2 decades of my life. I have maybe 15 more in the closet on the other side of the room. So I say journaling to people and they go, what do? I don't know where to start. I don't this and that. And I get it. 8-year-old me was there at one point. I also have had 2 decades of journaling to get me to the point to where my journal prompts sound like, he said, it sounds like a curated blog, like
Mm.
literally something that either ChatGPT just kicked out or that you have spent months curating. And I was like, no, I've spent years getting really good at taking thoughts and turning them into a clearly written and clearly spoken thing. If you see me speak, it's because I've been speaking on that topic for years. If you hear me write on things, even these internal journals of my own, these are thoughts I've been thinking and developing for years and being able to do this. So give yourself grace and find a mentor who has literally walked the path. Like if you have someone who's telling you to do something, ask them to show you theirs first. Like if I love it when people are like, "Oh, journaling," like, "Oh, show me yours." Okay. I mean, mine's digital now. I've got a whole Remarkable over here with thousands and thousands and thousands of journal entries. I've got all the stuff on my iPad now, and I've got all these physical journals, which honestly, I prefer the physical ones because they're literally here. And the reason I went digital was because I was nervous to lose it all at once, meaning water,
Mm.
fire, any of the things. Like at least digital, there's backups of it now. So little bit of a side skirt there. But the idea of like making sure that you have a community who can support you in the goo, but also make sure you have someone who's actually walked through it. Like I
Mhm.
had someone ask me a couple weeks back on one of my speaking events if I work with people on quitting smoking. And I said no, because she knew that I did hypnotherapy. I said, no, I don't. And she was like, well, you can though. And I was like, well, I could, but I don't. And she's like, why? I was like, because I'd never had a problem with smoking. She's like, but you can though. I'm like, yes, I can. And I don't. Because I don't know what it's like to have such an addiction to something like that, that you don't know how to let it go. And I don't feel qualified to walk someone through something like that. Now, if I had gone through the not the quit smoking program from the company that I learned from, I would have a lot more confidence in saying yes to something like that because I would have a detailed understanding of it from that perspective, but I don't. And so I just clearly told the woman, no, I don't. I don't really take people like that on either. I would just refer you to someone else that I know who does a really great job with that. And like, it's okay. It's okay to not be that expert for everyone. It's okay to say, I'm really great at journaling, but maybe I'm not great at another modality. I don't do like tapping. That's something I don't do. I'm not going to
Mhm.
recommend that to someone because I don't do it. And so
Mhm.
I mentor more than I coach. I might, if someone was curious, I might send them a resource or two that they could learn more about it and go somewhere else. But I think it's okay to be in a space where we don't know everything. You're allowed to be new to something and just find someone who's done it before.
Yeah. I think that I love that you made the distinction between mentoring and coaching because there is a very big difference.
Mhm.
If you're looking for a mentor, then you're looking for someone who's done what you want to do and you're following their exact path, their exact steps what they've done. When you're looking for a coach, you're not looking for someone who's done what you do. You're not. You're looking for someone who knows how to guide you through your own unique path to get to where you want to be. And those are two very different things. As a coach, I don't have to have accomplished the thing that you want to accomplish in order to help you get there. That's just like on a sports team. The coaches aren't necessarily Super Bowl players, but they can get people there, right? The right kind of coach can. And whenever you're considering what it is that your goal is, you want to consider a little bit of both. Like, what is it that I really want? Do I want someone to take me through their process so that I can do the exact same thing that they have done? Or do I want someone who is helping me overcome what's inside so that I can get to whatever it is that I want to become in my own way? Yes, you're going to model someone who's been successful, but it's really more a mental game at that point. Although I will say that one of the things that we learn as coaches is that you cannot help somebody overcome something that you yourself have not overcome.
Yes.
So, for example, if you have the same issue currently that your client has, you won't be able to find their issue because you're blind to it in yourself. You have it too. So, in that regard, you would be looking for someone who does the work. If they're here to help you with your mindset, then are they consistently all the time living the lifestyle of somebody who is overcoming, facing, encountering, and synthesizing their problems? Because if they're not doing that, they're not going to be very helpful to you. And that doesn't mean that they can't help you.
Right.
There's just going to be a limitation because it's not going to be this custom thing. And I think that's something that I've really, really learned more. The longer you do this, the longer that you realize, oh, the more that I am journaling. Or, on the note of journaling, I do want to mention that even for those of you who don't like writing, because sometimes I'm not in the mood to write. I'm also an external processor. Even by my human design, the way I make decisions is by speaking them out loud, not writing them. I do both though, because you do get different aspects from doing both. But one of the hacks that I do is almost every single word processor has dictation now.
Yep.
So you can just dictate it or do voice memos or Otter or Plot. There's so many different tools out there now where you can do that. I digress though. Is the person doing the things like what Jayna is talking about? Because even less than, like, I would be okay with tasking someone to do something that I have not done if I do something in the same domain, right? So, like on quitting smoking. Actually, I have quit smoking before. It had to do with an ex-boyfriend in my life and trying to make him jealous in my 20s. But I've gone through the experience of smoking and then quitting it. Was it an obsession? No, but I've done it. So I would feel comfortable leading someone through something like that. I wouldn't say that's my forte though, so don't come to me for that. That's it's just an example that I'm referencing. But you can, there are parallels because not everything is a one-to-one always.
Right.
It's not always a one-to-one. As long as I've overcome the same sort of obstacle in my mindset, even if it's showing up differently for you in your life, then there's still a way to be able to help you. I think where you really see the difference is whenever you have somebody who is just following a formula for a person. And a framework is different than a formula. Framework to me is like, here's a general outline of where I want to take you to get you to your destination versus, oh, well, according to this graph, if the client says this, then I must ask this question back. That's not speaking from lived experience. either
Mm.
internally from having undergone the change or externally from having helped somebody through it. What I found is that the more that you do the work on yourself, the easier it becomes to help other people because you have lots of reps and lots of practice. And I think it goes back to everything, learning to walk, learning to journal that, in a way that sounds like it's blog worthy and curated. Like all of those things come because we're living the experience every single day. We don't, I mean, we talk about this stuff for fun. This is the stuff that cheers us up. Like we're not even doing this. I mean, we would be doing this whether or not this is going out to be recorded as
True.
content. This is just what we
So
do.
true. Yeah, and it's funny you say all this because it's like, as you were talking, I was thinking, "Oh, you know what? Now that I speak that way, maybe it wasn't that it was about smoking when I
Mhm,
said her no to her," because
mhm,
I was like, "Oh, I said that so fast too." And I'm like, I'm usually not one to respond that quickly. Maybe it was a vibe I was picking up. The way she asked showed me that she didn't actually want to let it go. Maybe that's what I was picking up on
mhm,
because
mhm,
one of my most successful clients was an alcoholic, and he
mm,
was coming to me having just started AA and had gotten an ultimatum to you must come to Jayna for coaching for things to continue in his life. And I was honestly going into that very nervous because
mhm,
before this, my only other massively failed client was a man who came to me because his wife told him to.
mhm,
And so I didn't want that mistake to happen twice. And I was like, no. So first call with him, I was like, okay, here's the reality. I have failed someone like this before and I won't let it happen again. You need to prove to me that this is for you and not for her, and that
mhm.
you're actually ready for this. You really want this. And I had to, he did for about 10, 15 minutes. He fought for it and proved it and then ended up being the
Right.
best client that I had with huge results. And I've never had, I mean, I've obviously had alcohol, but I've not ever been addicted or had an
Mhm,
issue with it,
mhm,
nor in my family or any of my, I mean, people around, acquaintances, but
mhm.
not like my close friends or anything like that. So I don't necessarily believe that I have needed to experience the thing. Also, thinking to some of the trauma that people have experienced, or divorces have never gone through that, or loss of children, never gone through that,
Mhm,
or having children, never gone
mhm.
through that. And so it's like, I really do guide a lot of people through, in the coaching aspect, through the process of getting through the goo, no matter
Mhm.
what the goo is. Maybe I'm just getting better at noticing who's actually not ready to recognize that they're
Yeah,
in the
who's
goo.
mhm, yeah. Well, and the other important, I think, and subtle distinction is that just because they're displaying a certain behavior like alcoholism or cheating or whatever it is, the underlying cause of that is something you may have overcome. And
True.
because you've overcome that, you can help them through that. And I guess that's what I'm getting at here is that as long as I have overcome the issue, it may have manifested and looked like one thing in my life,
Yeah.
and it may look completely different, and I can still help you. And I know that you and I both also operate from the principle that we are going to attract the people who have the problems that we've overcome. We
Yay.
literally started out talking about that, right? Like, it's like the
Woo.
best job in the world. Like, because you're like, oh shit. Yeah, that is true. And sometimes, like I will say, there have been times when I'm working with someone and we're coaching, and I'm just like, oh, that's my problem. Oh, I just figured out something new about that. There is a possibility, especially if I've been actively working on it.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just say I'm like 2 or 3 steps ahead of you, and I hit a roadblock, and then you say something because you have that problem, and I'm like, oh, I see it now. This is the next.
Yep.
But if you're just ignoring things and you put your head in the sand and you learn the tools and then you don't do anything with them because you just whatever. And we all go through our phases, right? We all go through. I think one of the biggest mistakes I ever made when I began my journey in all of this when it comes to personal growth and development is thinking that because I had these tools and the knowledge and the frameworks, I was never allowed to have a bad day again. That was one of the most destructive things I ever did for myself. because I unknowingly or unwittingly, I should say, just
Mm,
like not on purpose, was undermining myself and my humanity and my existence and my right to be human and have emotions and experience and process things. But it got so bad that I wouldn't want to talk about anything. I wouldn't want to talk about anything that would make me seem vulnerable because I was afraid that people would think I was a fraud or a hypocrite.
mm,
If she has those tools, why does she have those problems still? Tell me that anyone who works on personal growth and development hasn't felt that or even heard that from
yeah.
someone outside of them. Like, why are you struggling with this? It takes a lot of courage to just accept yourself for who you are and your humanity, and humble yourself to say, "Hey, I always think of Shrek. Ogres are like onions. We have layers." We have layers and layers and layers. And if there's one thing that obviously I'm at peace now, I can speak about that. I wouldn't even have been able to talk about this before. It was a long journey before I realized, oh, I don't have to have all the answers. Oh, I don't have to be okay 100% of the time. And in fact, I found times when my body would get mad at me when was I repatterned my language so that I would speak in the positive instead of the negative. My body didn't like it when I spoke about things in the positive when it wasn't positive, though, because my body was like, "You're not being authentic. You don't feel good. You feel bad right now." And I would say things like, "Oh, I feel not great,"
Mm,
because great is a positive. Now, I wired that into my neurology so that it just comes out. It wasn't even an intention. It was like click. It's like, "Oh, the pattern is there." And when you listen, when you learn to listen and become aware, remember feeling my body just like have like a pain and be like, "Well, no, we didn't like it that you say that. Stop saying that because
mm,
you're going to teach me that you think it's good to feel this thing that you actually don't like." Now,
yeah.
that's confusing. That's confusing for everybody. And again, just being so intentional with these little tiny subtle things that can just take off in your life. Anything in excess can be damaging for you. Even positive language patterns when they're used inappropriately.
Yeah. Anything. And all of the people on the path to helping others are usually here because we have our own problems, and that's how we got started.
Yeah.
And I used to say the onion thing too, and someone was like, "Jayna, you're not an onion. Those are smelly and nasty, and most people don't like them." He said, "Jayna, you're a butter biscuit." And oh, baby, Michelle, I've been flaking off left and right. I'm a butter biscuit, baby. So yes, that's what we are around here. We're butter biscuit. Let the ogres be the
That's
onions. Because
great.
everybody loves a nice butter biscuit with all them flakes and all them layers. Good.
Oh,
So,
onions are a deity in my house. My
oh,
husband would beg to differ. He's
sorry, Cliff.
basically like, "The only reason I would ever divorce you if you ever told me you didn't like onions." And I agree with you though. I am team biscuit. Sorry, Cliff. If you ever hear this, I still like onions though.
Onions are great and just not as good as a butter biscuit. So
No, no,
I love
not
it.
at all.
Ugh, layers of layers of layers of work. We're always working to continue to become better. In fact, I had one of those mini moments of like pulling back and not talking to people and just being in the dumps like last week. And then I just allowed myself Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I didn't respond to people's text messages, didn't go on the internet, I didn't do anything. I just sat, I worked out, I would come home, I'd cook a nice meal, maybe I'd meal prep some other stuff, took a nice hot bath, I journaled, meditated, took a nap for like 2.5 hours each day. Thought
Hell
I'd come
yeah.
home, I'd have nice dinner, and I just did that for 3 or 4 days and did nothing but relax and integrate and allow myself to be sad and allow myself to
Mm.
feel all the feelings of the things. I was partly angry about some things, partly sad about some things. I was partly grieving some things.
Mm.
I mean, it just was a lot of emotions. And I had been traveling for 12 straight days. And my body was like, nope, can't deal with that yet. Nope, can't deal with that yet. Nope. And we got home and we
Mhm.
paused. And I was like, oh, we have to deal with all of this now. And, you get home from travel and everybody knew what day you get home. So they wait till that day to send you all the requests. And you get just a million people asking for things. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, we all have those days, no matter how far along on the path we are. Sometimes we just have to step back from being the giver, the strong one, the
Mm.
superhero, the one who shows up for everyone else, and allow ourselves to just give to ourselves, just
Mm.
be nothing and make no progress and just sit and just be. Because sometimes the ratio of doing to being is just off. And that's snaps all
Well, it
right
it
there.
goes back to the balance thing that the universe is going to demand, your biology is going to demand that you balance out whatever just happened. And that's what just
Yes.
came to me just hearing you speak about this. I know what your schedule was. I was there with you for part of it and it was quite intense. And you you were in that moment needing the opposite of all of that
Mhm.
so that you can get back into your equilibrium and show up. It's just, again, are you doing it intentionally or is it going to be that your body forces you? Because I've
Right.
known people, we've all heard stories of people who are just go, 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 and then boom, they pass out.
Yeah.
They start getting sicknesses, illnesses, that sort of thing. That used to be me. That was definitely my background. I was burning the candle from both ends, partying, working, doing the things, hustle and grind, right? I wasn't designed to hustle and grind. And after
Not
enough
anymore.
years of that, my body was like, nope, not anymore. Because it's always going to come. It's like karma. I mean, it
Right.
is the very definition of karma. Karma isn't just about all the bad deeds you do. Karma is about anything. What goes
Right.
around comes around, and it's going to demand its opposite. It's going to demand that balance to
Yep.
come in. Are you choosing when that happens? Are you allowing it to be something you want it to be that can be pleasurable and on your terms? Or are you waiting until the moment that the universe comes a knocking and says, hey, it's time. I've given you lots of tries, hints, opportunities. Now I have to bring something big
Mhm.
that forces you to stop, that forces you to bring that balance in. That's how a lot of illnesses come about.
Yep.
Not all of them. Some of them have nothing to do with any of that.
Agreed.
That's a
And
different
stress can
conversation for a different day.
yeah. Stress can also deteriorate the body so much, and it's rough, but I agree with you. Just I love the going with the flow and, like, really just allowing myself it started with a weekly bubble bath. And just putting a weekly bubble bath on my calendar, where in the middle of the day on Fridays, I would come home from my workout and I'd just take a bubble bath. And then I'd go right back
Mhm.
to work and I would do this all week long. Just go, 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 Friday bubble bath. And then it became Friday all day was a me day. And so I'd
Mhm.
still do my workout in the gym, but I wouldn't take calls on Fridays. And I do my best to still not. And then it turned into Wednesdays because now we have the property. And I started doing Wednesdays where I'm like, okay, I'm out on the property all day. I have dance class at night. Like it's another me day. And now it's like it's slowly but surely becomes a little bit more and a little bit more. And I find that I'm finding more of that balance
Mhm.
where because I have these whole and half days of just pouring into my cup. Now it's not just sitting on the couch doing nothing. Wednesdays I'm out on the property pulling weeds, raking limbs, like doing all the hard work, but it's still filling my cup. It's a me thing. Um, but the idea of like finding that balance between all work and no play, or all play and no work, or like people swing too dramatically, and just finding that regular balance so it can be sustainable long term.
Mm.
I'm really happy to have found a few of those, but that trip was not one of those. That trip was such a
No.
hard
And
swing
it
to one
happens.
side that,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense, which is kind of why I didn't schedule much the following week, because I had a feeling that that might be the case. And I'm glad that I did because, Mother Nature. And
Yeah,
so,
speaking of Mother Nature, when you're a woman, other things that you can, keep into account is what is going on with my menstrual cycle? What part of my
mhm,
cycle am I in? If you want to get even bigger picture, you can look at the seasons. We're going into the fall, or well, we are in the fall, going into the winter is what I mean. And that's a time for, okay, we're kind of stocking up, piling up, doing all of the things that we can now because in the winter, that's the hibernation. That's more of the lazy time, which I think is so funny. I was talking about this with a girlfriend of mine, how everyone's like, new year, new you, let me do this and do that. And it's like literally Mother Nature is in this cycle of, hey, we're supposed to be like regenerating and hibernating and resting. And one wonders how much of the failed resolutions also have to do with that, just at an energetic level, macro. We're again, we are capable of so much at any time. We're so powerful in so many ways. And wouldn't it be awesome to stack all of those things in our favor, to be able to have all of the energy at our disposal because we are timing again, being intentional
yeah,
with how do I become the authority in my life and look at my energy patterns and set up a life that I think is going to, in a rhythm that will help me to get what I want in the most pleasing way possible. Working, everything's pointing in the same direction.
yeah, I love that. It's like my uh one of the affirmations I've been using a lot more recently is universe, show me how easy it can be.
Yes.
Oh, so universe,
I love that one.
show me how easy it can be, or how easy it can get, or how easy it is. Like
Mhm.
it's this idea that so many of us have grown up programmed that hard work equals, work hard, work long, work do. It makes it worth it. And it's like, yes, it does. And it can also be easy. I'm allowing it to be easy.
That is
So,
that is a great one. One of my favorite ones that I use almost daily. There's certain days that I may forget. It's actually from Access Consciousness. Such a great program. And the question is, how does it get any better than this?
mm,
Because no matter if you're having a crummy day or already an awesome day, you say, how does it get any better than this? And it'll show you how it gets better and better and better. That's one of my favorite ones to use because it usually works out really quickly in my experience. Whether it's because I said it and the universe is responding or because it's shifting my perspective into looking for the better. Does it matter? Tomato, tomato? I don't think so. But normally, something really awesome will happen within just minutes to hours of me asking a question like that.
oh, yes. What a great
Mhm.
way to wrap this episode with a
Mhm.
question like that. So carry it into the next day, the next week, the next month. I hope you come back and visit before then. But if you made it this far, congratulate yourself. A long way into the episode to get. And we love you.
Mhm.
And we'll see you in the next
See
one.
you next
Bye.
time. Bye.